Have you ever had one of those days where you look up and realize half of it is already gone, and you can't really say what you did with it? You wake up late, scroll through your phone for 20 minutes that turn into 2 hours, tell yourself you'll start in a bit, and that bit never actually comes. Then night falls, you're lying in bed again, staring at the ceiling, asking yourself the same tired question: what am I actually doing with my life? Most people would call this laziness. They tell you to get more discipline, build better habits, use a planner. But here's the uncomfortable truth: this isn't a time management problem. It's something much deeper, a part of your mind that is quietly, stubbornly refusing to grow up. And the scariest part is that this doesn't just happen in your 20s. Some men carry it straight into their 30s, 40s, 50s, even their 60s. From the outside, they look like grown men. But underneath, there's still a child in there who panics the moment life asks him to actually take responsibility. Welcome back to Mind Deception. Today we're going deep into the psychology of the manchild. Before we start, fair warning. This one might sting a little. It might poke at your ego in places you didn't expect. But if you can sit with the discomfort and stay until the end, this could be exactly the wake-up call you've been needing. So what is this childish part? And where is it hiding inside you? Let's break down the psychology behind it. The psychoanalyst Carl Jung had a term for this: puer aeternus, Latin for eternal boy. You've probably heard it under more familiar names: Peter Pan syndrome, or simply, the man-child. Being stuck in this pattern doesn't mean you're unintelligent or incapable. Quite the opposite, actually. People caught in it are often sharp, full of ideas, quick on their feet. But the defining trait is an intense hunger for total freedom. And in this state, freedom quietly starts to mean something specific: not being tied down, not being responsible for anyone, never having to commit to a fixed choice. You want every door left open, you just never actually walk through any of them. Jung had a phrase for this kind of existence: the provisional life. Living provisionally means everything you're currently doing feels like it's not really your life yet. You work an office job, but tell yourself it's just temporary. Deep down you're actually an undiscovered talent waiting for your real break. Your room's a mess, but why bother cleaning it? This isn't your real home anyway. The real one is coming someday. You're in a relationship, but some part of you keeps thinking this isn't quite the one. So why go all in? Because everything feels temporary. You never actually commit to anything fully. You end up watching your own life like a spectator in the stands. You watch other people throw themselves into things, working, failing, getting back up, moving forward, getting married, building something. And some quiet part of your mind starts to feel superior to them. The inner child in you whispers that they're all stuck in the rat race, grinding through bills and routine, while you're just waiting. Waiting for something more special to come along. But here's the thing: you're not a spectator because you're free. You're a spectator because you're using freedom as a shield. If you never pick a specific path, you get to keep believing you could do anything. If you never actually give a goal your full effort, you never have to feel the sting of really failing at it. Your dreams stay perfect because they've never been tested, and a dream that's never been tested can never fail. Underneath all of it is one core fear: the fear of reality. Reality is messy. It comes with bills, rejection, competition, flaws you can't hide from. In the safe little world inside your head, you're the star of the story. But the second you step into the real world, you're starting from zero again. You have to learn. You have to work. You have to actually own your mistakes. And some part of you would rather stay curled up in that comfortable, provisional version of life than walk onto the field and risk getting hurt. So where does this come from? Why do so many people choose to stay wrapped in the cocoon of childhood instead of stepping out into the world? Marie-Louise von Franz, a close collaborator of Jung's, pointed to something surprising. A lot of man-children were actually gifted kids. Maybe you were the smartest one in your class, the kid who picked things up effortlessly, or the one with some clear standout talent. Teachers and parents praised you constantly. You got labeled gifted, the smart one, the one with real potential. And without anyone meaning any harm, those early compliments quietly planted a trap. Your whole sense of self-worth got built around being exceptional, being full of untapped potential, around being different from everyone else. The problem is what happens when you actually hit adulthood. Out here, in the real world, potential doesn't get you anything. Nobody hands out rewards for potential. What gets rewarded is results, and showing up consistently. When you start a new job or a new project, you're not going to be great at it right away. You'll mess up. You'll get rejected. You'll run into people who are simply better than you. And if your whole identity was built on being the special one, that hits differently. It feels like a direct attack on your ego. That sting, the feeling of not being good enough, of being passed over, hurts more than most people admit. So your mind does something clever to protect itself. It reaches for procrastination. You start telling yourself, I just haven't really started taking this seriously yet. That's why it hasn't worked out. It's not that I'm not good enough. Every time you put off sending the application, starting the book, learning the skill, what you're actually doing is protecting the fantasy of your own ability. As long as you haven't really started, you still get to believe that if you did, you'd obviously crush it. At that point, procrastination stops being simple laziness. It becomes a strategy, a way of avoiding ever finding out what your actual skill level is. Think about Icarus. Given wax wings to escape the island, he ignored every warning about limits, flew too close to the sun because he believed he was untouchable, and the heat melted the wax right off his back before he fell into the sea. That's what happens when you confuse potential with actual achievement. You can dream as big as you want. But if you've never learned to walk steadily on solid ground, if you've never trained yourself on the small, boring tasks, reality is going to shatter you the moment you actually touch it. And the wider that gap between fantasy and reality grows, the easier it is to fall into a self-destructive loop, usually through 3 familiar traps. Trap 1: constantly reaching for something to numb yourself. It makes sense to want comfort after a long day, that's normal. The problem is what you're actually using it for. Every time pressure or the fear of failure shows up, instead of dealing with it, your default move is to escape it. You disappear into a game for hours, scroll short videos on autopilot, chase whatever gives you a quick hit of stimulation. This isn't relaxation anymore, it's anesthesia. Inside the game, you get to be the hero who wins. The second you shut the screen off, you're back in a reality that hasn't moved an inch. You're using these little escapes to mute the alarm bell that's trying to tell you something. Trap 2: a deep fear of long-term commitment. Early on, when everything's new and exciting, you're all in. But the moment a relationship starts asking for real things, commitment, plans for the future, shared responsibility, you feel the walls closing in. Suddenly you're noticing every flaw in the other person, fixating on what isn't perfect, using your circumstances as a convenient reason to quietly pull away. On a deeper level, you might find yourself drawn to someone who overfunctions, someone who ends up carrying your emotional weight and your practical responsibilities for you. Slowly, they end up managing the cleaning, the money, the big decisions, while you settle into the role of being taken care of instead of the role of showing up as an equal. Trap 3: victim mentality and the habit of blaming everyone else. This syndrome makes it incredibly easy to see every bit of outside pressure as proof the world is against you. It's the Peter Pan story again. Captain Hook is always the villain. In real life, Captain Hook looks a lot like your boss, the expectations of society, the clock quietly ticking, pushing you to grow up. Instead of accepting that maybe you need more discipline or more effort, this mindset convinces you that all of it is simply unfair. And sure, the economy can be brutal, the job market can be rough, the world isn't always fair. But the trap is this: if you make that your only explanation for not acting, you hand over full control of your life to your circumstances. It feels protective in the moment. In reality, you're slowly losing the ability to take ownership of your own life at all. Recognizing these 3 traps isn't about tearing yourself apart or calling yourself a failure. It's about finally being able to see the enemy that's been invisible this whole time. And once you can see it, you can actually start doing something about it. If any of this hit close to home, what you need right now isn't guilt. Guilt can make you feel bad about yourself, but it rarely makes you grow up. What actually works is action, real, adult action. Here are 4 steps to help you step out of the cocoon. Step 1. Change how you think about growing up entirely. One of the biggest lies of this whole mindset is believing that responsibility, discipline, and adulthood will somehow turn you into someone boring, kill your creativity, and bury the dreams you had when you were young. You start seeing adulthood as a cage. But it's actually the opposite. Responsibility isn't a chain, it's the strongest wall protecting your dreams. Think about it. Someone with real writing talent who never sits down and actually writes will watch that talent fade into nothing. Someone with a genuinely great business idea who's too scared of risk to learn how money works will keep that idea trapped on paper forever. Growing up doesn't kill the creative kid inside you. It gives that kid a structure sturdy enough to actually build something real. Step 2. Get comfortable being ordinary. This mindset makes you look down on the small, boring, everyday tasks because they feel beneath this special version of yourself you've been carrying around in your head. Breaking that means doing the small, boring things seriously and on purpose. Clean your own room. Wash and fold your own clothes. Try doing it without music or your phone pulling your focus somewhere else. Just be present with the task. Pay your bills on time yourself. Take a normal job, physical labor, an entry-level office role, whatever it is, and actually try to do it well. Doing these ordinary things with real seriousness pulls your mind back down out of the clouds and plants it firmly on the ground. You start actually touching reality instead of floating just above it. Step 3. Practice getting comfortable with failure. The core fear driving all of this is the fear of not being good enough. You don't fix that by avoiding failure forever. You fix it by slowly, deliberately exposing yourself to situations where you might actually fail. Pick one thing you've been avoiding purely out of fear you won't do it well. Finish the resume and actually send it to 5 companies. Sign up for that course, knowing you'll be clumsy at first. Apologize to someone you hurt. Ask your boss for honest, unfiltered feedback. Once you do it, you'll notice something. Failure isn't nearly as catastrophic as it looked from a distance. Getting rejected doesn't mean your life is over. A man's character isn't built by winning every scenario inside his own head. It's built by falling in the real world, and then getting back up, brushing himself off, and continuing anyway. Step 4. Find some outside structure to hold you accountable. One of the strongest habits of this mindset is constantly negotiating with yourself to avoid discomfort. The second things get hard, your brain will generate 100 perfectly reasonable sounding excuses to delay, to rest a little more, to crawl back to your phone and your bed. That's exactly why you can't rely purely on your own willpower, at least not at first. Find a mentor, a demanding boss, a disciplined community. People honest enough to call out your excuses, serious enough that they won't coddle your procrastination, and demanding enough to actually expect you to finish what you started. That kind of pressure, and that kind of accountability, is often what keeps your feet on the ground exactly when the child inside you wants to fly back into the fantasy. None of these 4 steps are easy. But they're a genuinely practical way to start pulling yourself back into real life. Don't let your entire life stay trapped in the word almost. Don't wait until the very end to look back and realize all you have left is regret. The difference between someone who actually builds something and someone who stays trapped in potential forever isn't talent. It's whether you're willing to step out of the fantasy and let reality actually touch you. Before we wrap up, sit with this quote from Carl Jung for a second. The greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of its parent. If you keep avoiding your life, keep living provisionally, what you're losing isn't just time. Little by little, that quiet regret has a way of leaking into your relationships, your family, your friendships, even into the next generation, whether you mean for it to or not. If you saw yourself somewhere in today's video, hit like and subscribe so we can keep unpacking these hidden corners of the mind together. And if there's someone you care about who's living inside their own version of Neverland, send them this video, not as an attack, but as a respectful nudge to grow together. Thanks for being here. See you next time.